about soccer!
Good evening, everybody. A special welcome to Karen Humphreys, who is a Notts County fan whose husband has put this on. So welcome, Karen. You will enjoy the next hour or so of conversation about the greatest team to adorn black and white that doesn't have questionable ownership. We are joined by Rich Lord. Rich making his debut on the pod. Nice to have you. A wonderful background, may I add.
Thank you. I took today to prepare it because it was a bit of a mess. It's a box room, but it was a box room. And yeah, put lots of nice framed things up, made it look really nice, made the effort, you know.
I mean, yeah. it looks like a stock one from Zoom. It's that good.
Yeah, I'm a bit embarrassed now actually because it feels like it's a bit too proper now, doesn't it? It looks too organised.
The only query would have been if you sat at the camera just to check to see where everything sat in relation to your head.
Yeah, I know. It's all reversed, isn't it? So yeah, it's not quite perfect, but yeah, that would have been a bit too embarrassing.
Well, it's brilliant to have you on, and Hannah is now back as well. She's moved into Caister. She has decided to go back to the Summer Isles, and is waiting a massive wicker man to be put up on Caister Top. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And I have actually checked my head against my background before, embarrassingly.
It's usually my lad appears here on any important call. He will always sort of just turn his head in. But how has everything moved in? You and Hugh all settled? Little one settled?
Yeah, just perfect. About. Got lots of DIY to do, but we're in and happy.
Anywhere decent walks for Disley?
Yeah, there's the Water Hills in Caister, which are really nice.
That's not a nice place. That just gives me some like flashbacks of cross-country running down Canada Lane. And Jim, it's a pleasure to have you as well. Thank you for joining us.
Evening. My room looks over botanical.
It looks wonderful.
Yeah, we're having some building work done, and so downstairs is out of commission and most things are upstairs. Hence, you can't see a load of junk in this room, but it's full of junk, believe me. I've not done a Rich prepare the room in advance plan. It is how it is. Sorry.
I really wish I had, because it looks an absolute mess. In fact, if the camera panned that way just a little bit, you'd see the mountain sort of electricity requests for gas readings and the like that they are not getting. Because we like to live on the edge. Look, I mean, there's only one place to start. Jim and Hannah were lucky enough to go to Meadow Lane and have just recovered. We had a sort of an initial reaction as Ian and Bruce were stumbling out of the ground. What were your general thoughts on sort of how it went? Was it as exhilarating on there as it was on telly? And how did it go?
I mean, it was a really good game of football, notwithstanding that how it ended at the on the 96th minute, and then in added time. Extra time, sorry. It was a really great game of football, and Town played exceptionally well, particularly in the second half. I thought the atmosphere was great. I thought they were a bit flat, and that was probably because of the way we were playing. And if we'd have been a bit more accurate up front, it'd have been done and dusted well before the 96th minute. But to get that equaliser at that time was just absolutely exceptional. And then to go into the next 30 minutes and just carry on doing the same and finish the way we finished again was exceptional. And that second goal being a replica of the last minute goal when we was there last time, pretty much. Rich, I think you put some footage on Twitter, didn't you? And it was Carl, who I was with, and all of our lot who went. He said just as the free kick was given, he said, "This is where we scored last time," and in it went, and it was just crazy. It was absolutely unbelievable. It was really, really good fun.
It sounded we've got such an incredible record at Meadow Lane. I don't think I've actually seen us lose there yet. So I mean, Hannah, how was it for you? And you said you were on a row of Caister people. We assume they were all sectioned off at one side of the stadium. How was
Yeah.
it for you guys?
It was brilliant, and like I've been to my fair share of away games, but honestly, the atmosphere was unreal. And like when that first goal went in for Town, I just thought, there's no way this is going to pen. Like, we've got this now, and it's such a good feeling, you know.
I don't know about you guys, but I felt relatively zen, whatever was happening. And was it the same in the stands? Did it sort of were you as calm there? Was everybody fretting? Was there a feel of jeopardy that we were going out even in the 95th minute? I mean, it sounds stupid to say there isn't, but
I think because we had so many chances that we didn't take, there was a lot of like come on, just put it in. So yeah, it was quite frustrating. However, we have played our best going 1-0 down this season, so you know, there was always that.
I always had a sense, even though it had gone well past 90 minutes, that we were still going to be okay, and we were. And I was pretty relaxed about the whole thing. I mean, it was such a good game of football to watch anyway. If we hadn't have won, then it'd have been really disappointing. But it wouldn't have been the end of the world, you know. But to end in the way that we did was just like ridiculously exciting. Everybody was going absolutely bonkers all around us. It was fantastic.
It's one of these games like Braintree will have been, and I think Hartlepool 8-1 is the same. Where I know there was 2,000 of us there, but in 5 years' time there'll have been at least 11,000 people who said they were there on the night. Was that one of the things I'd like to ask is, when we're talking about, I felt quite, I don't know about you, Rich, but I felt quite like if we go out here, that's fine. We're moving on. We're evolving. Were the crowd becoming restless? I want to say they weren't getting on the backs or anything like that. It didn't sound like that. You sounded incredible.
There was another. There really wasn't. There might have been in sections, but there wasn't where we were. It was total encouragement. It was total encouragement, and I mean, you've got to have some mentions for some of the players, like Fox. He was absolutely superb. I've never seen, for a few seasons, a player cover the ground he did, and he didn't make a single mistake. Every pass was completely perfect. He won the ball loads. You know, he was great. Clifton in the second half was absolutely exceptional. He's brought forward a bit, I think, but in the second half, he was great.
Clifton had at least 3 or 4 shots in a sort of 10-15 minute spell in that second half, didn't he? We were really, really on top. So to go behind when we did was just very hard to take. But it was typical Town, wasn't it? It was like, you know, I wasn't at the match. I was watching it on BT Sport at home, and you just felt like, oh, you know, we got so excited about the game. We all kind of accepted, yeah, it's this free hit. You know, again, relatively relaxed about it. You know, wouldn't disguise any disappointment if we did lose. And then we sort of went behind. You think, well, it was nice to dream a little bit. It was nice to have a bit of a go, but this is kind of how it was always going to end, wasn't it? You know, play really well and just not quite do enough because we can't quite finish in the final third. But I mean, about 2 hours before kickoff, my missus, who's only really followed Town since she's been with me, and that's since 2004. So she's really known the worst of it and only ever known the worst of it. Apart from that day out at Wembley when we beat Forest Green, she said to me, "Go on, tell us what's your gut? What's your gut tonight?" And I said, "Well, I just feel so positive about it because I'm relaxed about it. I'm naturally cautious. We both are, obviously. Most Town fans are a little bit pessimistic by nature." And I said, I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to say it, but if you're asking me to be honest, I think we might nick this one. And I've been watching a lot of football recently. And a lot of the games have been going to penalties, whether it's previous playoff games like Swindon, Port Vale one. I've been watching Arbroath Inverness that I went to penalties, and the team that I always want to win penalties never wins. And I was like, I think we'll edge it, but I don't think it'll go to penalties. But I've got this sneaking suspicion. You can call me out bullshit on this, but I genuinely said I think we might win this 2-1 in extra time. But it wasn't until like 2 hours after the game had finished, I suddenly realised that prediction was correct, because I was so euphoric that we'd won that I didn't stop to think we'd actually won in a way that I predicted. Wish I'd just put some money on it.
I don't know about you, Rich, because obviously you watched it on the telly like I did, but I'd spent most of COVID getting used to celebrating town games that mattered on my own. I'd kind of forgotten what I used to do in a room with a slightly disinterested wife as I'm going nuts in a corner. Sam Strands, for anyone who's listening, said he had the full-time tweet drafted for a 1-0, and it was ready in his notes until Clifton won the free kick. He's not going to lie about it. So even the club were ready, and you can't blame them. We're 25 seconds on the clock. It's not a surprise. Do you think that the element of calm and zen comes from not just the fact that we understand it's going to be a hard slog in this league, but we also, speaking to some of the Notts County fans on here previously, they're really worried that this was their last chance to play with that set of players, and they know they're going to be picked off and taken away. Do you think because we're under a different ownership and we're under Hurst, you know that this is an evolution and that it's just going to be improved upon?
I think that we've been there, haven't we? I think had we not gone up in 2015-16, I do wonder whether Hurst would have stuck around. I don't know if it was if it was possible for. So there was that sense, wasn't it? And that was our fourth sort of successive playoff finish. So we've kind of been there, and obviously we're coming at it from a slightly different angle now. We're looking on at the Wrexhams and the Notts Counties who need to make one of these count, because they've been there so many times, and that pressure just builds and builds. So I think we've really benefited from kind of being that underdog and under new ownership. I think it counts for a lot. Again, I was speaking to a mate who said that we've made such a big joke about 3 points. Certain improvements don't win you 3 points on a Saturday. We've all said it tongue in cheek. The Perspex barrier at the front of the Findus doesn't win you 3 points on a Saturday. Whether it's like the gym equipment, the training ground resurfaced, the furniture in the manager's office doesn't win you 3
round
points.
Footballs.
Yeah, and the spherical footballs helps as well. Doesn't win you 3 points, but what it does do, the cumulative effect, could win you promotion. So forget about these 3 points on Saturday. I think it's that culture that Jason Stock was spoken so much about on this podcast and in the local media. Building that culture of making little improvements, incremental improvements over time. The cumulative effect isn't winning a match on a Saturday. It's about winning promotion. I think it's kind of bearing fruit, possibly sooner than we thought, to play as well as we've done in a season where the turnover of players has been quite high as well, isn't it? The squad that finished the season isn't the squad that started it. So to go through that transition mid-season and come out, in the playoffs and in the position we're at, I think is probably a little bit ahead of what any reasonable fan might have expected.
I think also, and you guys will have probably noticed this too, Hurst seems so much more relaxed this season, and whether that's partly the ownership, partly that he's further on in his career, but he seems to be enjoying it more and more engaging as well. So I think that's really great to see.
Do you think he's... Sorry, go ahead, Jim.
He's got more background support than he previously had, and it can't have been difficult in the previous circumstances. I think one of the things this time round that is still to come. When we got promoted last time, everybody loved the team, everybody knew the team, we were really bonded to them. I think this season that's just coming. That's just coming. We're just getting to know them in the way that we previously did in that promotion side, and so that gives optimism. It gives optimism for this next game as well, because there'll be the same people out there that are out there against Notts County, and if they put in the same performance, because we've seen Town play really rubbish this season at times. I remember going away to Solihull and it was dreadful. We were awful. But it wasn't a patch on this week on Monday night, and if we can replicate that on Saturday, nearly morning. It'll be tough for Wrexham.
Yeah, it definitely feels it will. I mean, sort of talking about the game, Chris Stiff wanted to know. It was more ticking that they were ready to invade the pitch, and I mean, we should really get a medal from the safety advisory group from stopping an imminent pitch invasion. Grimsby Town as a whole fan base should be really proud of that. And as such, unfortunately, if we do play Notts County again next season, they're only going to have to be allowed about 800 tickets because they just can't be trusted to behave. If that's the sort of aggressive behaviour they're going to bring, you can't really trust them. But it was fantastic, heartbreaking to lose. Simon Hodson wants to know: has Manny earned a contract from I guess from the interview alone? Never mind the goal. He certainly did just fucking throw himself at it, and Jason has already got some t-shirts in the making. It's nice to hear from these players. Sometimes you don't. Half the time, I don't even know what our players sound like half the time until they come on. It's nice to see them having a bit of a smile and a joke about it. He looked elated.
Yeah, he did, and I think, I'll be honest, I think I tweeted this in the week. I didn't learn how to spell Diasure or how to pronounce it because I just thought he's going to be sort of a bit part player. It looked like Abrahams had come in and been given the number 9. He was given the number 9 show, wasn't he? And so you just thought, he'd be the first in if there was sort of any injuries. But the thing I've been impressed with most is that, there's no escaping the fact that Abrahams and DSOA are kind of bit part players, but they've contributed. They've both scored goals. They've both scored important goals. They've really contributed in a way that I didn't quite anticipate. In the same breath, I think I said, Scott Burgess a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, I didn't really see how he was going to play a part in this squad. He's not in the squad at the moment. He did come in. I remember he played in the game against Woking at home when we won it really late through, ironically, a late Manny goal. And I thought he played well that day, and I thought he's sort of edged himself into the squad. The squad's strong, isn't it? It's so strong that you can't get into the matchday squad now. And you do wonder when you sign these players at the time, how much more realistic you're going to see of them. But they've all played a part, whether it was earlier in the season or now. Manny sort of timed it really well for himself, given that he's essentially playing for a contract, if not here, then to impress some suitors elsewhere.
It was interesting to see that York City have offered Lenny a contract for next season in their release list. So if his future isn't at Town, which it doesn't look like it will be, he'll certainly have a place in the National League next season, if not. So it would be interesting to perhaps come up against him if we don't get promoted this year. Hurst has always had those bit part strikers that have not necessarily always played that part. Huben, Straker are just a couple from that season, but Huben was the guy that set up the goal for to clinch it. It's a really interesting one, and we've got a lot to thank Hurst for bringing these players in, and maybe hopefully next season, if we have a slightly more settled side and he isn't relying on people like Hunt and Towler on 6-month deals, that we might go even further. Jim, what were you going to say?
Huben ended up playing European football, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He was
really well. They got I can't remember who was he playing for. Was it some Irish? It was an Irish team.
I want to say Dundalk, but I don't think it isn't.
You don't think it isn't?
I don't think it is.
So it is.
Maybe I'm really I'm being so negative on myself. I don't even.
I can't remember, but he was doing very well.
He was. Right. Let's go on to talking about the game to come. The winner was always going to get the luxury of travelling to Wales to play the darlings of non-league. And Nathan from the Rob Ryan Red podcast is here to talk to us about what Tony Butcher called the world's most expensive pub team. Nathan, thank you so much to have us on.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to this side of the coast. How are people in Wrexham feeling about the game? Surely it's yours for the taking, isn't it?
I feel like after I was trying to listen into you digesting the Notts game, I think we're more worried now. Our heaviest defeat of the season away at Dagenham on the final day, and the basically fans have just said, well, once we hit Stockport with 2-0 up, that got to the players, and you can kind of write that one off fine. But the trophy final, if anyone saw that, was really disappointing. And a lot of fans were really impressed with Grimsby. I think even when you went 1-0 down, we thought much the better team. I was, it's a bit hyperbolic, but I was blown away by how good I thought Ben Fox was. I don't know if you've already touched on that, but I honestly thought he was.
He's not for sale.
Yeah, but you'll see in the summer. Everyone's got a number when it comes to Wrexham. So if he wants some more Instagram followers, he's got to get into a documentary, I think. And we're making one of those, so that's good. But no, yeah, Ben Fox, I thought was. I think we spoke a lot on kind of our podcast and in our fan base about how important midfield is. And that sounds really basic to say, but a lot of games in Vanarama are just back and forth, defense and attack. Whereas if you have ball playing midfielders that can dictate games and even when it's not going right can show for the ball, I thought Fox did that brilliantly. And I don't know if he's come up again, but I thought Harry Clifton, is it Harry Clifton? The second half was brilliant again. I thought he was, someone who really would give you purpose, and you had a few players that would drive forward. And when McAtee went off, I think a lot of us, I said before the game, I really want to play Notts County. I just think they're more of an average team than Grimsby were. I said that pre-match, and people said, "Oh no, let's take Grimsby." And then after the match, everyone was like, "Good God, we should have taken Notts County," as you said, as you rightly pointed out. So, yeah, we're in a weird headspace, but we're at home and we've lost once at home all season against 10 when we had 10 men. So 11v11, we haven't lost at home this season. So we've got to be the favourites. I'm not buying into this idea that we're now underdogs because we've cocked up in 2 games and you've won a game. So yeah, I'm just kind of worried that your away support's going to be bouncing and we're going to have a nervy home crowd, because all I could hear on the TV was your lot drowning out the admittedly some empty seats at Notts County, but you had a good away following. So yeah, belting game. I think you'll probably take us to extra time, and from there, who knows what'll happen. Sean Pearson winner at the back post probably, or something like that.
That would be beautiful. But he'd be the sort of player that would then actually run down this tunnel in disgust at himself and not talk to anybody. Well, maybe until he gets back to Grimsby, then he'll have a few beers. In terms of how things have been going at Wrexham, obviously I've got no bones to pick with Wrexham. I quite like how they treated sort of Pearson, and you've been down here, you've done your time in terms of a want of a better phrase. But is it going as well as you'd hoped in terms of it? My worry is, I guess, as many Wrexham fans are, we kind of had the same brush in years ago where we missed out on automatic promotion on the last day, and when we got to the final, we didn't turn up. We just didn't play Cheltenham. Is that a worry? And how is the sort of the player purchasing going on? Tozer and Palmer seem quite left field choices at times. Is it being all sunny?
There you go. Didn't take you long.
Do you know what? That genuinely wasn't intentional. I promise.
To answer the first point, I think, look, 10 years ago, we got 98 points, runners up to Jamie Vardy's Fleetwood, and we went out straight away in the playoff semi-final. We looked mentally cooked going into that. Then we just, to get 98 points in any league and to not go up is staggering. But look, that's the National League for you. And it took us years to get over that. And people still talk about the ghost of the 98-point season. And I don't think it was quite the same because we never had it in our grasp, the title. We went top when they had a game in hand on us and goal difference and all that. So I never really felt like it was ours. It was just good that it got exciting by the end. If you'd have offered Wrexham fans at the start of the season, second place, a cup final, one home game, and you've only lost once at home to get to a final, I think we'd have took that. I think we'd have taken that because Stockport are a very good team, very good players. And on the recruitment front, Paul Mullen's a brilliant signing, I think, as he's proven, top scorer in the National League. And Ben Tozer, people scoffed at that. And I did originally, the long throw and, it's just the way we want to go. But he's got something like 11, 12 assists off those throws at the minute. And that's, been a real weapon for us. And it'll be interesting to see how you stand up to that. I'm sure Luke Waterfall will be. I mean, it's staggering for us because Luke Waterfall was bang average for us. And he seemed the other night, based on what I saw, he seemed a real kind of leader at the back, what everything that he wasn't for us. So I think that'll be a good battle to see. And yeah, who's the other one? Ollie Palmer. Again, he was one that people looked at his record at Wimbledon and thought, this isn't going to be the guy. And yet he's the reason we're in the position we are. He completely transformed our season. He made Phil Parkinson's style of football work. It was this, we lacked the target man. We lacked if you're thinking of like previous players, like a Matt Reed, someone to just stand up front and it to not bounce off, because we were having Mullen, as good as he isn't someone who's just going to be picking balls out of the air against massive centre half. So, yeah, I think overall the recruitment's been good. It's just we've let ourselves down in 14 assists for Tozer. Someone said that's good. They're bailing me out there, Dean. And yeah, I think our best player, if you're looking for our best player, in my opinion, outside of the ones we recruited, Jordan Davis, homegrown player, I think is a fabulous player. 20 goals from midfield. It will be really on him to, yeah, like I say, I could wax lyrical about your midfield, but it'll be on him to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and say, no, we cannot let Fox run that midfield. We cannot let him dictate it, because if we do that, our crowd will get nervy, as home fans often do, and we'll be chasing shadows. And I think if we do that, that's my worry. If we lose that midfield battle with Fox, maybe I'm just doing this in case he listens and I'm tapping him up for a move come the summer, even if you go up ahead of us. So, yeah, the midfield will be key. Win that battle, and I think we'll probably be all right. But recruitment-wise, yeah, I'm happy with the recruitment and second place. I've not got too many gripes. If you'd have asked me in January, I think I'd have been probably calling for Parky's head on a platter.
I went to Wrexham away on that Tuesday night when we lost 1-0 and Palmer scored. And he looked really threatening and also just completely determined to score a goal. It was absolutely like a man possessed. And he had a great record when he was at Grimsby when we were in the playoffs with him then. I think he scored at London Park against, was it? I can't remember. It was Eastleigh. I think it was Eastleigh in the second leg, wasn't it? And then went to Bristol Rovers and lost on my birthday at Wembley when I had a broken foot, and it was my 50th. I'm not bitter about that. Cropper v Tozer. We've got Cropper, who can throw a ball as far as Tozer, but ultimately he's never really successful with it. So that maybe could be, instead of penalties, who could throw the ball the furthest, could be a different way of deciding the tie. You didn't have to mention Matt Reed. That's just swearing. Terrible.
That's what I do, provocative. I've come on just to provoke you all, just to get under your skin.
Laddie Cartos. And lastly, is there any trick about getting out of your car park quickly? You're stuck there for hours.
If there is, I don't know it. And there might be one. There might be one. I mean, no one's told me, so I'm usually trying to get there nice and early to get a spot close to the exit. But it's one of those. It'll be a bottleneck, and I'll be, hey, look, if you do the job on us, I'm sure you won't be in a rush to leave anyway in that away. And I know there's been a bit of a gripe about 1,200 tickets. I mean, that's what we gave Stockport. I think with only 3 sides operational, there's always going to be an element of that the stand they're trying to build there, as the one to your left will be empty. I mean, that's going to be 5,500 capacity. When that comes in, I think it's a completely different ball game. All 3 sides will gravitate towards the new safe standing, and that will then allow, I think, when teams like Grimsby or Stockport come, or whoever, these big kind of teams, you can give them a lot more. But at the minute, they really haven't got the capability to do it. But I think, you know what, you'll be packed in, and you'll be noisy, and you're going to really grate on us for a bit. And then hopefully I think we just need an early goal, after the last couple of performances where people are we as good as we thought we are? And as I said to Lloyd Griffith, obviously a big Grimsby fan, that Rob McElhenney.
He's not that big. That's rude.
Is he not big? Is he not big?
He's not that rude. That's rude. He's only 15 stone.
Hey, look, come on, be nice here. And I said to him,
that's the issue.
I said to him that Rob McElhenney, admittedly it's a small sample size, but he's watched us now at Maidenhead away. We lost there. He's watched us in the flesh at home to Torquay. We drew that one. And he's watched us away at Wembley, and we lost that one. So he's there on Saturday. So he either breaks the curse or it goes on. Yeah, so it either goes on or...
Does he want to take my flag? We'll see which one wins out.
The McElhenney curse. Well, it'd be funny because people were joking about it after 3 games. You know, it's a very small sample size. This McElhenney curse, but I guarantee if we somehow don't get the job done against Grimsby, there'll be people saying maybe can you just stay away until we get up and then we'll welcome you back with open arms.
So
I don't
Town
know. I
fans
mean,
just need to start chanting the word curse at 89 minutes when it's 0-0.
God,
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
Well, look, you know, I mean, for us, in terms of, like I say, you could probably tell us this is nonsense, but the danger men for us look obviously McAtee looked good, and I know he went off, but I'm assuming he's not injured. I'm assuming he'll play. And I thought, I don't know, you'll probably say this is ridiculous, but I thought the lad Souza, I thought he looked lively at least. I thought he's the type of player where his end product isn't bang at it every time, and probably I'd tear my hat. I'd be bald by the time I watched him for a season, but he will at least give you defense something to think about. And I thought Notts could never really leave him. You know what I mean? They couldn't sort of say, "I dare you to shoot," because he was so lively. So yeah, is McAtee the one we've got to keep quiet? And if we keep him quiet, you'll be an average, or what do you think?
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him.
There's this bloke called Danny Rose, who's really good. Yeah, but yeah, no, McAtee's nothing to worry about. You'll be fine.
Okay, so just leave him, let him do what he wants.
Yeah, I mean, what
don't
you
even
really
mark
want to
him.
give him is give him loads of space, because if you give him too
Right.
much time to think about it, he panics.
Right,
and then
right.
you've got, yeah.
I'll pass all this on to Parky, and I'll make
Please
sure,
do.
I'll make
Well,
sure the lads know. Yeah, make sure they
if
all
it's
know.
anything like Birchnell, who was apparently having his scouting done by some drunk bloke in a taxi, which went very well for him. Yeah, that was his story.
Well, I just seen the story that Halifax are now looking for a manager. So Pete Wild's gone. So that's the thing with the playoffs. There's so many big clubs there that people are sort of panicking to get out. I don't know. You lot seem a lot more relaxed. That if you beat us and you go to the final, hopefully you then go up to a good club. But if you don't, you sort of seem, not going to head to panic station. I don't think. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think yeah, you're right, and I think that's because of the new ownership.
Right.
Just over a year ago, we finally got rid of detritus from the club. Trying to think if I could say it more politely. And I think, we all accepted that last season was a bad season all round. And to be fair, Paul Hurst has to take some share of the blame. I think a section of our fan base is very keen to point that out, that he was part of the problem in the second half of the season. I think he had probably just enough time to turn some of it around to some degree to keep us up. And we still fell a bit short, although, we made a couple of half-decent loan signings, the football improved, but, everything around it was crumbling. The ground, the pitch, the training ground, everything was in disrepair. So I think we're just riding a bit of a crest of a wave in terms of how everything off the pitch we've seen and we've felt and we've experienced things improve. And I think that just carries on to the pitch in some way. And I think we know we've got a manager we understand. Manager, I think just about every fan would trust, even if they don't agree with the way he does things. I think he's pretty much trusted to make the right calls, certainly in terms of signings, and he seems to get the majority of the calls right in game. He's been criticised for his substitutes, but I think he's been using them pretty well this second half of the season. Tactically, I thought he was spot on at Notts County twice. There were certain things that we do that Notts County would have known about and still couldn't stop. I think, we're just very positive. Unusual. We're very positive because I think the mentality is we've not got a lot to lose. I don't think anyone expected us to bounce back immediately. Given that when you get relegated from the EFL, it's usually because you're worse than bad. Like you look at the 2 clubs that have come down this season in Oldham and Scunny. They've got so many issues. It's not just on the pitch; it's everything off it. I think we weren't quite as bad as that off the pitch, but we were close. We've rectified that, and so I think a lot of people keep saying this free hit. This is a free hit. It was a free hit against Notts County. If we win, great. If we lose, never mind, because we're in a good place to start again next season. I think we're trying to carry that mentality through now at Wrexham. We're not expected to win. We're not at home. We didn't finish as high as you lot. We didn't push Stockport. We're happy to be in the playoffs, and hopefully, without that extra pressure on us, we might do something on Saturday as well. Who knows?
I mean, the worst case scenario for us is Jordan Maguire-Drew whips in a cross in the 98th minute, and Luke Waterfall nods it in and runs immediately over to Sean Pearson. That will probably reduce 10,000 people to tears.
I tell you something. I don't know about you, but I don't know if he did it for Wrexham, but Sean Pearson will occasionally go on some mammoth runs from the back and just take the ball up and take it past 4 or 5 players. I think against Wrexham, he might just add that little bit of confidence in his head. We go, have a go. 95th minute.
Can you imagine like a kind of pile driver from outside the area, top corner?
When Saturday comes, Sean Bean sort of thing.
Under our last manager, Dean Keats, there were times when our kind of plan B option, which didn't really have the same level of obviously players then, plan B was just sort of stick Sean Pearson up front. So it was kind of just like very weird seeing Sean jockeying with other centre halves, but not at a corner or anything, just kind of an actual striker position. It was very odd, but it was very funny. And Sean's great. You'd be hard pressed to find Wrexham fans that don't like Sean Pearson. I mean, during the pandemic, he was out delivering takeaways to door knocking people, delivering their takeaways, and just a brilliant bloke. And a lot was sad to see him go. We cleared the decks with all our centre backs. Went to a place that he's got a lot of ties to. I think his wife's from the area and everything, and it made a lot of sense for him to go back there. But we're just kind of hoping that he doesn't do some sort of Mourinho touchline run. I'm sure he won't, but who knows? The emotion. He's a very emotional bloke, and
he is. He got booked. He got booked on Monday on the bench, which was absolutely brilliant. It was so Pearson, was that?
Yeah, no, I saw that and I thought that, exactly. That's so probably just in the fourth official's ear from minute one. I thought Hannah was getting involved then. He's just a great bloke. But I think it really will be a good match. I think it'll be pretty cagey. I felt like maybe the Notts Grimsby game wasn't that cagey, actually. I felt like you were quite up for it early on. And I think when you look at the playoffs, if I look at the National League North, it was interesting to me that the teams that were away did better. They fared better. Boston, I can't remember who they played in the first round, and then they got through that, and then they beat Fylde, and then so the teams lower down in the playoffs actually sort of had a running start at it. I'm not trying to make excuses. We'll be the massive favourites to win. We're at home and finish second, so I'm not trying to paint us as an underdog, but it was interesting to me looking at other leagues where the teams that had a sort of running go at it were able to build up a head of steam, which was quite interesting.
It's quite interesting to see where we are. I'd like to see if we were to lose tomorrow on Saturday. Sorry, I would like to see what the fishy would look like and Twitter would look like, depending on the defeat. But it's a strange one, almost like the defeat at Notts County would have almost been fine. We played better. We were the better team. A very unlucky penalty to concede, which was probably a pen. Sort of, I would be screaming for it as a Town fan. And you just like, well, them's the breaks and move on. There's also, we were talking about it before you came on, there's also not that much of a worry in terms of our team being pulled apart. We're on an evolution, so it's only going to get stronger. And I don't know if anybody else is in agreement, but if we don't go up, I want Wrexham out of here, because I don't want to be challenging you to pay £350,000 for some kid from Guiseley, because that's stupid.
It is, but it's what we do now. So we're the thing is for us that the one sort of niggling doubt. Look, we could still go up and then job done, success. We've got out and great end to the documentary. But the niggling doubt is you're building this squad for League One. That's what keep building a Football League ready squad. But the National League's its own beast. You sort of have to. There's the big debate at the minute is, okay, let's just say Wrexham don't go up and you manage to do it. Is the focus for the summer poach from your rivals? Go and pay whatever, rather than going and buying a League One player, do you go and buy, Chesterfield's best midfielder, or do you go and try and get Shamanga or whoever in that playoff mix, Joe Spa at Solihull and these others, and weaken the sort of the rest of the division? Or do you still keep sticking by this, let's buy League One and the quality will show eventually? Because there's no need for us to panic. We're second. We finished second in the league, so it didn't go horribly, but it's definitely a debate among the fan base of what which way do you sort of go with it.
Nathan, how confident are you that the funding by the owners and the backing will remain? Because it's not been there forever, has it? I mean, it's just a season, isn't it? And that's nothing.
Yeah, no, it's a fair, but but I think what they, the people behind the scenes who are really running the club day to day have got a wealth of experience. I think obviously they're fronting it and they've put some money in, but really, a TikTok sponsorship I think was 10, 15 times what our last sponsorship was with Evo Williams trailers. So a lot of the things have just kind of
I mean,
gone up
you poor Evil
exponentially.
William trailers. They tried their best.
Hey, look, they got the best PR they've ever got with Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, and we've great sponsors like Peter Gwynn Potatoes and all these kind of like local companies that were sponsoring us for years when we were fan owned and still are involved now. But what they bring is it's funny that TikTok originally weren't going to sponsor us. There was this talk that recently came out that it was going to be a pizza company, and Ryan Reynolds made a personal phone call to the CEO of TikTok, and suddenly that opens a door for you that previously wasn't available to the Wrexham Supporters Trust. So that's what a Hollywood star gets you. So I think what they're doing is trying to bring as much attention. I think the documentary estimates of £250,000 an episode, so that that's a very lucrative thing.
God, you get another Tozer for that.
Yeah, exactly, mate. But what it is, it's sustainability, and I see the skepticism, and I can understand that. If it was somebody else's club, I would be the same. I'd be looking at it with some scrutiny. But I think having met the kind of people at the club a few times, it's definitely not a kind of like a Ryan and Rob play thing. It's like, what can we do to bring in enough sustainable income for that if we're here for another 10 years or 20 years, or if we're not, can the club sustain itself? Because we've had some, as of you, like you say, we've had some horrendous ownership situations where fans have had to use mortgage deeds and all sorts to just bail us out. Hours from HMRC winding us up. So I think they've really realised that, and it's not a case of just like, right, let's bankroll the hell out of us in the short term, and then we'll go, it'll go belly up. They're doing that. They're spending a lot of money at a time when others can't. But I think, given how we've been stuck on free signings for a long time, I think we're overdue. We've done 14 years at this level. We've had enough now. It's our time to get out of here. I'm sorry. I know you want to win the game on Saturday, but just roll over. Let us get out of here. We've done our time. Done 14 years.
I'm really sorry. We could probably have allowed you, but we have to go back to the world's coldest ever game and how you cruelly just took us from the one trophy we could have had. So
I didn't even bring it. I didn't even bring it up. You brought that up. I didn't even bring that up.
It doesn't even cut mustard. I got hypothermia and moved down south. They said it's warmer. They said, and we're down here in Arctic cold. I don't know about you, but is that still talked about in Wrexham as the coldest game they've ever been to?
Oh yeah, but people still talk, obviously, playing the FA Trophy final the other day. People was talking about digging. We were literally digging ourselves out of snow, like knee deep in snow, digging ourselves out, pushing cars up the road, and on we went. And that was a bonkers game. I think stuff like that, I think that Brody penalty might still be rising now. I don't know if it's still in orbit somewhere, or it was a great.
It was a great mentioning Brody's name.
It was a great game. He was
banned from the bus, wasn't he? They wouldn't let him back on the bus at one point.
Banned from the bus?
Yeah, they didn't want him back on the bus. I don't think it was that game. It was another game where the players, and I think it was instigated by Pearson, where he's not coming back on this bus. He's done. And he was never seen again.
Talking of like horrible weather situations, the last time I went to Blundell Park was quite a while ago now, and the day was just one horror show from the next. Some Grimsby fans were getting very big man with the Wrexham fans in McDonald's, so we couldn't even enjoy our McDonald's before the match. That was a nightmare. So that was gone. Craig Disley scored in front of the away end. I think he cupped his ear, and that was a nightmare. We lost the game. That was a nightmare. And then on the way home, it was probably the worst rainstorm I've ever experienced in my life. So that was all in all, it was a day I expected going to Blundell Park, and I got what I paid for.
You got what you deserved. Yeah, absolutely.
Craig Disley absolutely haunted us for years. So now you seem like you've got
Yeah, hopefully he'll be back. I don't know. He got quite animated when we were playing Notts County, at least.
Was he in the away end, or where was he?
No, just on Twitter.
Oh, right.
It was quite nice.
Right.
What are the plans for the club going forward? Obviously, what you tend to get is when you come out of this league, if you were to get promoted, you would you'd probably stand yourself in good stead, even with the current team you have, to do well in League Two.
Yeah.
Are there any plans on board? Obviously, the stadium's getting redeveloped. Is there anything
Yeah.
else happening? There's obviously quite a lot that goes. I think people forget sometimes how close Wrexham is to Merseyside and Greater Manchester and alike. Is that ever been a concern? Is it pulling people back in from the local community? And how are the new fans, at the racecourse, dealing with? Are these all new plastic fans that have come in, who are jolly come latelys, or are they just people returning that haven't been for a while?
I'm one of those people that doesn't really want to call people out as plastic fans, but there's a mix of people that went away. There's definitely a couple of groups. There's a couple of groups of speaking to a friend of mine. He said, he said friends of his when he was, years and years ago, said, why would you follow Wrexham? Like, Wrexham are garbage. Wrexham are awful. Why do you follow Wrexham? With Everton's close, Liverpool, as you said, and etc. And now they're like, any spares for playoff semi, or any spares for Wembley, or I want to take my kids to Wrexham because it's fun to be at now. And with any club, it's fun when you're winning and people want to go. And then there's people just in the community, or we've basically got all of North Wales really is that catchment area, if you think about it, where people right up to Anglesey and all those kind of places, and people are coming from Conway and organising buses Anglesey, and they just think it's a good family day out now. A lot of kids are coming and really enjoying it, and that their memories when they get a bit older with Wrexham will be, I started really loving Wrexham when Super Paul Mullin, or we can all think back to players we liked growing up. Well, this is a fun time, I think, if you're a youngster to be following Wrexham. Kids getting shirts because they know what TikTok is, but maybe they don't, know about the heartache of, God knows, that 98-point season, or when we had Deli Adebola up front, or when Brett Ormerod seemed to pull his hamstring running through on goal against Kidderminster. They don't remember all these things. Or, going further back when we got promoted in 02-03 with Lee Trundle. So, I think it is great. It's just a good atmosphere, and the town needed, like a lot of places, the town just needed some energy, needed some life put back into it. It was becoming difficult to go there and keep rallying yourself season upon season. Year 14, it's hard to, and the fans are turning out, and people say, oh, all these plastic fans, now it's at 10,000. There was still 4,000 when we were like 17th in the National League, going nowhere, going south, basically. And it's just built on that. So if anything, I go to the town now and it's just a fun place to be, which I can say for years it wasn't really on a match day. So going forward, like I say, they'll demolish the Cop side in the summer. That'd be really weird because that's just been sort of left alone for years and years. They're looking to get that done for 23-24. Hopefully we're not still in the National League then. But who knows with Wrexham, you never know. And then I think it's just building it up. They just want to put Wrexham on a map. They just want to put Wrexham, and as you know, with these things, Sunderland Till I Die, or I don't know, any documentaries, Last Dance for the basketball, it'll put Wrexham on an international stage, which no other club in the 5th division of English football can compete with. So for that, I think it's going to be amazing. We talked about loads, and I know that probably irritates the hell out of Grimsby and other fan bases, but it's the club's going from strength to strength, and it's brilliant to see because there were plenty in that town and in those stands that I'm with now that were losing hope, had lost hope, and they got it back, which is amazing.
You said you've been in this division 14 seasons, and am I right in thinking this is your 5th playoff campaign in total?
Yeah, I'd rather not run through them all, but
well,
if you
yeah,
want to, you can,
say,
yeah.
Is there anything about this one that feels different?
Well,
it hasn't started.
Yeah, it hasn't. We haven't had the disappointment yet. I mean, the last time we were there, we conceded what turned out to be Eastleigh's goal of the decade. So that sort of sums Wrexham up, that we would concede another team's goal of the decade when Eastleigh, I think, forgetting his name now, Hollands, I think it might have been. And he scores one of the best goals I've ever seen. Just an absolute thunderbolt, top corner, 118th minute, I think it was. Feel different. The 98-point season, we felt on cloud nine. We felt unbeatable, really. We had a team where we were so much better than everyone else. And I've spoken to players from that team since, and they cannot understand how we didn't get promoted that year. Cannot understand how there was only one team better than us. They'd already gone up. and we get turned over pretty easily in the end, like way too easily, actually. This one, there's so much pressure on us this time. That's what feels different. There's so much pressure because we've spent the money. We've done what we never do. So we've spent the money. We've got the big time players. We're at home. We're going to have 10,000 crowd. I honestly think all the pressure is on us. I'm not saying it's a free hit for you because it's a playoff semi-final. It shouldn't feel like a complete freebie. But, you know, if you don't do it, if Wrexham turn up and win 2-0, I don't think there should be a massive inquest if you've performed, well. We should be, with rest and everything, we should be beating you. And if we don't, we'll be the ones having the big inquest. So what feels different is we've got some pressure on our shoulders, and can we handle it? And at times this season we have. Chesterfield away, Halifax away, trying to think of Grimsby away, definitely not. that was a bad day at the office for us, really bad day actually. But so yeah, I think in high pressure situations we've done okay. Trophy was obviously a bad one, but yeah, pressure, and that's what it's going to come down to. Are our players built for the big pressure moments? And we'll find out.
I don't think I can forgive you for letting Fatty Woodman smile as much as he did. He looked like he'd found a new all-you-can-eat buffet down the road. But Hannah, what were you going to ask about the Wales game?
Am I right in thinking the finals clashing with a qualifier game?
You're right, Hannah. It's a bone of contention. I know what you're going to say. We could just step aside, couldn't we, and watch Wales? But it's funny because people have already been tweeting, various podcast accounts and fan channels saying, Cardiff and Swansea fans, I don't want to jump the gun, but if Wrexham do get there, is anyone selling their ticket? And it's a real tricky situation for some fans that go to Wales home and away, because Wales getting to a World Cup would be huge for first time since the 1950s, and
yeah,
it feels like Wrexham haven't been in the Football League since the 1950s, to be honest, Hannah. But it feels that long. But yeah.
No, I know it too well. My partner's Welsh, so he's similarly disappointed about that.
Yeah, I mean, is he going to be rooting? Have you got a split household? What's going on there? Is he actively rooting against Grimsby Town, or I mean, we can't even call ourselves a town now, can we? We've got to call ourselves the city or the Athletic City or something, whatever we are.
He's a definite Grimsby fan, but his dad's Welsh, his mum's English, but he's like, I'm Welsh, so
good for him.
Just likes underachievement.
Have I overstayed my welcome? Am I going to get into the roast then, or what's going on here?
Yeah, no, I don't think I don't know about you guys, but Wrexham hasn't felt. I'm on social media far too much for the job that I do, but I've never necessarily found that Wrexham fans were that at all distasteful. It wasn't like they came in nouveau riche, loads of money. I don't imagine they came to Blundell Park, lost 3-1, and then left all their shit everywhere and threw just $5,000 at the cleaner, goes, clean it yourself, and just walks off. I don't know. I don't know how you lot have felt with it. I thought Wrexham, yeah, fine, good on them. Like, just get out of the fucking league.
Yeah, as far as football clubs go, I've never disliked Wrexham, and I've watched us play them a few times, and fans are fine.
Well, one of the best games I don't know if your mic's still crackly or not. Apologies.
I mean, it sounds like you're in Maripol. I'll be entirely honest.
Yeah,
it's readable. It's fine. It's getting worse every time we try and reset it. So we'll.
Sorry. One of the best games I ever went to see Town play was when we beat Wrexham 5-1 in the whenever it was promotion season, when Gary Birtles absolutely run the pitch. We thought Fox is good. Should have seen him in Division 4. Scored a hat-trick. Pitch as dry as you like. Absolutely superb seeing promotion from Division 4. I can't remember what year. Was it 88 or 89? Something like that.
89, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's my...
Or 90 even.
The year you bought the mic. What were you going to say, Rich?
No, I that was one of my formative memories of Grimsby, actually. I remember listening to that 5-1 win in the car. I think my mum and dad had driven somewhere and left us in the car on your own, which you're not allowed to do now, are you, with kids? You're not supposed to leave kids in the car. They wound the window down a little bit, so we didn't suffocate. And I remember a guy came and knocked on the door and asked for the window and asked for something, and me and my brother just sat there and went, no. And my mum came back, and only as we got older, we understood the sort of seriousness of what had happened. I think someone had tried to get into our car with 2 kids in the back, and it's horrified my mum and dad. And we've always associated that with the 5-1 win over Wrexham. But I just remember having that on the radio in the car. I remember hearing it. I can't remember how old I would have been, sort of 6 or 7 at the time. But yeah, I do remember. I remember the goals going in. I remember the Birtles hat trick. Yeah, it was a good memory. I had a good memory of it. I don't think my parents have a good memory of it.
Nathan, we're meant to ask this apparently because this is what podcasts do, though it doesn't mean anything. What's your prediction for the game?
Yeah, I'm not Paul the Octopus or anything like that. What's my prediction for the game? Extra time, as I said. I can't come on here and say Grimsby are going to beat us. So I'm going to go 2-1 Wrexham in extra time.
Fine.
So.
Well, that is not acceptable, but fine. Well, I mean, good luck. Let's hope it's a slightly warmer game than it was when it was sub-zero in the middle of March.
You'd hope so, because if it's not, something bad's happening with the world. This global warming's really sort of taking the piss. So I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure you've been. I don't know if you're all going up or you're going to be watching it on TV. It's just going to be horrendous, isn't it? It's going to be awful for us. And I don't know. If any of you, are you nervous at all? Any of you, or now you've beaten Notts County, is it genuine? Just enjoy it and see what happens.
I'll be more nervous on the day, but I'm not.
Yeah,
nervous.
Right. Yeah,
I'm not nervous now. It's like if we lose to you, then it's what's expected.
But that's I think that's a great position for the squad if they're in that same mental headspace. I think that's a great position to be in because you're not going to be. I think when I've watched, as a Wrexham fan, you've seen a lot of teams at this level, a lot of players, and you can see when the fears in their eyes, and that's a bit cliche, but you can see when they sort of tighten up and don't want to show for a pass in case they give it away or don't try something. And what I was most impressed with Grimsby the other night is I did think you tried stuff. And that sounds like a very non-podcasty, interesting point to say, but did think you actually just tried to make stuff happen. And it was refreshing, that I thought. And
it's also worth mentioning, obviously the crowd's going to be big, but it's not even going to be as big as the game at Notts County. That was a bigger attendance. So it's almost like that would be something in previous years that would have been an issue, I think, going from 300 at Solihull to 10,000 at Wrexham. But I'm not necessarily sure that'll be the case. But I don't know. Well, we shall see. I don't know if anybody's got any other questions before we let Nathan go off and have 2 more nights of totally restless sleep. Perfect. Great.
No radio silence. Okay.
Nathan, thank you so much for joining us. We obviously hope you do not enjoy Saturday. But if you do enjoy Saturday, I don't know about everybody else, but I certainly think the winner of the promoted team comes from this side of the. Do we say bracket? Is that
we can
thing?
say bracket? We can say. Yeah. Oh, look, as long as if you do get there, as long as you beat either Solihull or Chesterfield, I'm happy with that. I don't want to see Chesterfield or Solihull go up. So this bracket is got to be the one that.
What's wrong with Solihull? They're plucky, aren't they?
They're plucky, but of all the big teams that you're seeing, just one of those should go up. I know there's no deserving of that's a big thing. Like, no club deserves to go up based on attendances. I get told on a weekly basis, but come on, Notts County, Grimsby, Halifax, Wrexham, any of those 4 massive clubs, like get one of them up and get them into League 2.
Solihull are the best side I've seen this season.
They are. I agree with that. They're exactly best side I've seen by a mile at the racecourse. So that's the worry, Jim, to be honest. But I'm trying to just talk against all logic and reason and say make it happen. Ben Fox we trust if we don't do it.
All you can do is just fucking throw yourself at it. That's it. Nathan, thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Cheers all. Take care.
Well, they sound absolutely confident.
Yeah, but a little bit surprised. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm not too surprised. I can understand and I can appreciate their situation. They just want to get on with it, and they're a little bit hesitant because of the last 2 results, and that the big game against Bromley at Wembley, which should have been a massive occasion, a real chance to win a trophy and put a marker down for the rest of the playoff teams to make them quake in their boots. And it didn't quite happen for them. So I think it's obvious that they're just a little bit nervous.
15 years in the in non-league has got to do something to your optimism, hasn't it? Hannah, what were you going to say?
I think our recent away record is pretty strong as well, so they must be thinking about that. But honestly, if they take us to extra time, I'm not sure we've got the legs for that.
Oh, could you imagine if the strength and conditioning coach is the thing that gets us promoted?
Yeah.
It was interesting to hear him say that they want to get an early goal, settle the crowd down. But I mean, we made the point. I think Hannah, you made the point earlier that we've come back from an early goal quite well, quite often this season. In particular, the home game against Wrexham, conceded early. It was a bit of a foul in the build-up, as I remember. And we came back and won that one 3-1, just off the back of winning 3-1 at Torquay, where exactly the same thing happened. Seems to bring out the best in us, conceding the goal relatively early on in the first half. Having said that, I don't think we want to go a goal down early on, but it's one of those things, you know, if the fans have the mentality of we've done it before, we can reel off at least half a dozen occasions where we've come back from a goal down, then certainly the players are going to be feeling like that as well. So going a goal down, I don't think it's going to strike any fears into the players, which is obviously a positive.
Yeah, I think knowing we've done it so much will keep the atmosphere going as well, as it did at Notts County. Like, it's quite relaxing to go one goal down at the moment, isn't it?
And won games in the last few minutes. We've done that a few times this season.
It can only help with the confidence, especially when you're thinking of the players. They just don't, and the fans as well. They won't drop their heads and go, look, you'll never know what happens. You still have that bit of belief about you, and we'll continue. And you almost, it makes Hurst's job easier. It's just go for it. Almost the worst case scenario would be 1-0 up with 75 minutes to go. What do you do? Do you stick or twist, and do you drop deeper and deeper back and, you know, concede instead? And then the momentum's the other way. Look, it's going to be incredible. I don't think it's going to be. If you wanted a ticket and you got one, then great. I know some people had a meltdown, but it happens. Like,
I've got one.
Good. Jim's got one. Beat Jim up. If you want a ticket, he's easy to get hold of, and his ticket is always on him. I don't know. It's just, I don't think there was a better way the club could have done that. Really, it's just how it is, and I don't really want to see loyalty points coming into it because it doesn't make sense. If, say, for example, I went to Weymouth away, for most town fans, you'd say that's like 20 points or something. If a home game's 5, for me, it's 2 minutes. It's like an hour and a half down the road. So, is that fair that I get 20 points for a game that is up the road? And same with Aldershot. I don't know how it would work. But
it's difficult. Sorry, Hannah, you go.
Sorry, fans are being rewarded for putting money into the club, not into other clubs, which I think is really important as well.
Oh, thanks, Hannah, for the dig. I try. It's just too far away. What were you going to say, Rich?
I was just going to say, there's no silver bullet with these types of things. I think, you know, I've had the privilege of meeting and speaking to Debbie, and I know how much hard work goes on behind the scenes. And you can absolutely bet your bottom dollar that she's been speaking to other clubs to understand exactly how they do things. You know, I'd love to hear, you know, an example case study of another club that manages this situation. I think people have pockets of ideas which seem good in principle, but then you're trying to join them all up, and it just doesn't work. It's never going to work. There's not going to be one solution that's going to work for absolutely everyone. So you just got to make the best of what you do have. And I think, you know, whatever that ends up being over the next sort of season or so, as we sort of refine the process, it will be the best for us, because you have to trust the owners and the people in the right place making the right calls now.
Yeah, it's and what a wonderful problem to have. It's not a problem we used to have, and we might even have it come the season ticket sales, especially when we're in League 2. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I don't think there's any other AOB we've got to talk about. Have I missed any massive stories that have gone on? I don't think so. But I mean, thank you everyone for listening. Look, with the raffle launch will go live. I'm trying to think. I was going to go live on Sunday, but I might bring it forward so everyone feels a bit positive. But the Linwood shirt, we've got an additional shirt. Rich is kindly donating as well. With I don't, what year was it from?
It was 2017, 2018, I think.
Perfect. So there you go. You've got another one, and Bruce is bringing that in. We've also got an offer for an unused 1998 Auto Windscreen Shield final ticket. And so Tom will be beating you. I was going to say beating you off. That's just wrong. He'll be going up against you for that one, because I think he'll put it on £5,000 down as a down payment on that ticket. But we'll see. Look, thank you all so much for listening to us. Enjoy the game. I know it might not go the way we want, but it might do too. You never know. Rich, thank you for joining us. Thank you for wonderful debut.
Thank you very much. Yeah. One other thing. We've been here before, playoffs against Moneybags 98. We
have, and it always ends well. And they played in red and black, kind of, didn't they? And Jim, thank you so much as well.
Pleasure.
And Hannah, it's great to have you back. Nice to see you've moved into the real world of Caister. I hope you have no trouble parking, which is a Caister joke for Caister people.
Got 2 days.
Yeah, 2 bays. Oh my God, that is proper flaunting it in Caister, isn't it?
And a garage.
Have you not had any sort of sixth form students trying to nab it?
To be fair, they can if they want. I'm at work all day.
So Hannah has got a parking space for sale in Caister during sixth form. So please do feel free to get in touch with the podcast. We might even raffle it off. Thank you everyone for joining us. We'll see you all soon. I'm going to do that usual awkward thing where I never find what I need, and we'll go from there.
Scunthorpe United had lost 4-0 at home to Exeter City this afternoon. Love it.
Open wide for some